Welcome, everybody, to episode 2 of The Shrooms Are Coming, Bitcoin Shrooms. I got to say it every week, Rolo. I love this song. And I don't know if you knew this. You probably did. You probably are Shroom Toshi. But did you know that his favorite band
been accused before
is Aphex Twin? Did you know that?
I actually had no idea. That's kind of scary.
Yeah, so it's like a lot of the elements of this show are kind of coming together in a weird way. Yeah, I just read an interview, actually, because Kenny, who is here, everybody, who is Anon, he is in the bottom right corner represented by his Raspy Blitz PFP, and Kenny, actually, we're going to be talking about that one today. But yeah, his favorite band was Aphex Twin, and you just happened to pick that, which just happened to kind of have open sourcing rights, which he loves too, that we could actually play this and have YouTube not tell us that our video is shadow banned for the rest of our lives. So a lot of teeny coincidences, but super stoked to be here.
That is cosmic. I thought I covered the trail a lot better, but now it's reasonable doubt.
Yeah, so I'm going to throw it to Ski God first. Ski God, welcome back from your vacation. We missed you last week, but he was posting a lot on the plane, giving us great tips both on and off the air. But one thing that we forgot to do last time that we're going to do a lot this time is if you watch the show, if you retweet it, you're playing for something, and we've got a great giveaway. So Ski God, what would we get this week?
Yeah, it looks like Rolo went a little crazy again and got some cool custom mugs with the Shrooms Are Coming. All of those are the godlike Grail NFTs, the proto Shrooms, all on a mug. So guys, like Blue said,
proto mug.
The proto mug. We're trying to build awareness of the Shrooms, educate people on what we think is the greatest NFT collection to ever be created on any blockchain. So please go share this now as we get going, because we want to engage, we want questions, we want to see what you guys think of the Shrooms we're highlighting, and at the end we'll have a winner and we'll send you a mug and you can drink some nice, coffee, whatever types of adult beverages you guys want to do. We're not going to judge. So get in there, share it, please.
Absolutely. So Rolo, welcome to the stage. Thanks for putting this show together. As always, you've done so much research. You and Kenny, Kenny in the last 2 years just doing a deep dive, and everyone's got to know the story of Bitcoin Shrooms is also the story of Bitcoin. And I think that's what makes this show so much fun to do, because we're exploring each and every Bitcoin Shroom, but in doing so, not only are we educating everybody out there on Bitcoin Shrooms, but also in Bitcoin itself. And every episode I'm learning a ton too. So I'm actually love to be here. So welcome, Rolo.
Hey, me too, man. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Super psyched. We've got 8 legendary Shrooms to go through today. Brand new category. Last time we kicked off with some of the fundamental principles of how Bitcoin got started, and these next 8 Shrooms are going to just kind of build on that story. We're gonna progress through what Shroom Toshi left as the next part of the tale, and as I mentioned last time, there's a way we kind of like to break it down. We go into the subjective, we go into interpretation. We're going to dig a little bit into some of the mechanics and history of how Bitcoin works. So we might learn a couple things. I might put you to sleep, but or we'll have fun. So
we'll wake you right back up if Rolo puts you to sleep. Okay, we're not going to let him put you to sleep. It's daytime, energy levels high, Bitcoin near all time.
I drank my coffee today.
Okay.
Yeah, Ski God and I will keep you guys up. And just so y'all know, the reason there's 4 of us, A, because we play a lot of euchre together, but B, because you got Rolo and Kenny, who are just the absolute scholars and archivists. I believe in Game of Thrones they'd be called the Maesters, right? They'd have all the chains and they'd be tethered to some castle, hopefully a more neutral or good one, and not the Bridges guy who just killed everybody and had like 75 redheaded kids. So anyway, these are the two experts, and Ski God and I are here to talk about Bitcoin, to provide color commentary, and just to have fun and enjoy doing this thing. We got our first comments. So we've got Brandon.
Hey.
Anybody who comments, who figures it out. So welcome, Brandon. Post any questions you have as we get into this. And we also got Snoop Toshi. So Snoop Toshi, a big shroom holder, and one of our favorites. Actually, his shroom is the only one in the opening. And I don't know if my fellow co-host noticed, it's the only one in the opening who is not a part of these four. But I love his shroom so much, and he adds so much to the space. So
pure legend.
Yeah, pure legend. We snuck that one in as well. There we go. Snoop Toshi's name is so long I had to reformat the whole screen just to fit him. That's just like him. Oh,
guarantee you he's smoking a cigarette right now.
He was from Toshi.
Yeah, and we got Bongo. Welcome, Bongo. Good to see you here.
Morning,
and
Bongo.
You'll never guess what his second comment is. You'll never guess what he's posting on, because this would be such a shock for Bongo. Does anyone want to guess?
What was it?
His next
comment?
Whatever
it is.
No, I'm about
baked
to.
in sarcasm.
Oh no. Oh God.
Yeah, Bongo, I don't think I've ever been on spaces where you didn't just talk and promote Billy, but we love you, and we know it's all for a good cause, which is the cause of Bongo. So welcome, everybody. Let's Snoop Toshi Santrilli. So who wants to start with our first shroom? We've got a bunch of good ones today, and it's gonna be fun.
Pick a number. Yeah.
Go ahead, Rolo.
Sure. So like I mentioned, sovereignty and best practices is what we're sort of going into today. That's our major thematic category. Just as a quick recap on, episodes 0 and 1, we sort of outlined that, Shroom Toshi didn't necessarily leave a rule book or a guide behind as far as how to interpret or understand what these shrooms are, and even what the specific meaning is behind each piece. But we, through talking to him again, in the early days when they were still around, pieced together over time that there are some fairly well-defined thematic categories that each of these shrooms kind of fall into, and that's been more and more apparent as we've dug deeper and deeper into what they mean. So we've done sort of the job of interpreting and making our own thematic categories that outline what each of these shrooms kind of meant and how they fall into a thematic category. And you'll see that how they tie in as we go along. So again, that being said, the thematic category for today is sovereignty and best practices. Last time we did fundamental principles, and we really, we went into the nuts and bolts of how Bitcoin really works, on a fairly sky high level, without getting too into the weeds. But we covered some very fundamental concepts of how to own a wallet, how to keep your crypto keys safe, and how to just, be a cryptocurrency user in a wild, wild west world. There's some things you kind of want to know about. And so with that said, we have 8 shrooms lined up, and, the first one, we'll just dive right into it. It's shroom number, it's ordinal inscription number 714, and it is called RPI. So this one, I'm a big fan of it. It's a clean, juicy looking shroom. It doesn't hurt that I love raspberries, my favorite fruit. So it's a nice food themed shroom. I think I mentioned last time I love the food aesthetic. It's a clean design. I'd like to know, this time we want to turn it to our audience. What do you guys think about this one? Thumbs up or down on this shroom? We'd like to know what your thoughts are, going forward on each of these guys, and why do you like it? Why do you not like it? What do you think it means? It'd be great to kind of hear what people are thinking about some of these pieces. But
I like that real-time feedback. I'll say I love it. I love the aesthetics of this one. I think it's cool.
It's a nice one.
It kind of follows the aesthetics of the shrooms, with the hat's a little smaller than your traditional one, but I think it's good. It's proportional. It's got a little something going on below, which I just noticed, but I like it.
clean. Yeah. So let us know, pop in the comments and just throw us a little piece of your thought. So we'll go ahead and deep dive into this shroom. This is called RPI. So what might that have meant? Design as a raspberry. The name is RPI. The art and title, we think are clearly referencing the well-known Raspberry Pi device, which is an open source, lightweight hardware piece, which is very commonly used to run Bitcoin nodes. And you basically just need Linux OS, and you connect this little device, which is like the size of your palm, to a large enough hard drive, and you just need an internet connection, and you can basically spin up, a Bitcoin node. So the description for this shroom, Shroomtoshi left descriptions along with each of the shrooms that was inscribed into the blockchain. For this piece says, 5th rule, not your node, not your rules. I guess it can now be extended to, quote unquote, not your node, not your JPEGs, end quote. Thanks to the bomber at Rod Armor. Fairly cheeky. I would like to think this is Shroomtoshi's very first nod to the creator of Ordinals, who is none other than Casey Rod Armor. And how would we fully explain the reference? Bitcoin protocol rules. They're going to be defined by whoever runs a Bitcoin node, and you can kind of extend that reference, I think, to JPEGs as most likely a nod of appreciation to Ordinals, and a way. I think this is maybe Shroomtoshi's way of kind of bridging censorship resistance and those fundamental principles of Bitcoin, and then bridging that gap over to NFTs, because now for the first time, as of 2023, we have digital art and items on top of the Bitcoin blockchain, which was not really a thing in the past. So in other words, without running a Bitcoin node and being a real pair or peer, you're relying on someone else to store and verify the inscriptions that's tied to your NFTs. So that's a pretty important concept. And I think this is also kind of in contrast to the way that a lot of Ethereum NFTs are not actually hosted or stored on chain in reality. That's not always the case. The smart contract for an Ethereum NFT is, kind of stored on chain. It includes things like ownership details, a token ID, and then there will be some metadata that's associated with the asset, but the actual underlying asset, or the JPEG, is not always necessarily written onto an Ethereum block. So that's where Ordinals, kind of come in. They're a little bit different in that regard. And Casey Rod Armor designed this protocol that kind of, I guess you could say, it harvests the way that Bitcoin already works. And we can go into that at some point. But Ordinals essentially, they really do store the JPEG asset onto the 4 megabyte Bitcoin block, and that's forever on the chain. So with those 4 megabyte blocks, that's why Ordinals, at least in the current form, are they're fairly limited to smaller sizes, but it also, I think, lends it pretty well to pixelated art and other things. So I think it's something that I really quite like. But that's really the long and short of this shroom, and it's a nice way to bridge Bitcoin fundamentals into digital NFT world. So what do you guys think?
I love Raspberry Pi personally. Oh, go ahead, Ski God.
I was just going to say, this is why I really like this thing, because, I didn't know any of that shit, right? I look at this shroom and I'm like, oh, look at that funny raspberry.
Was it going to be 10?
And, yeah, I walk around, I just kind of bang things, and I'm just like, me like pixels, whatever. So it's actually pretty cool to learn, how there was a little crossover there between, being protective, but then kind of showing how ordinals can actually, they're actually being inscribed and safe. And yeah, I think this one's awesome. I don't know. I look at it and I think the floor is lava too. There's some weird, it's kind of breaking apart. So I'm a big fan of this one. I don't know who owns it, but it's great.
Yeah, it does have a cracked appeal to it. And I'm a big fan of Raspberry Pis. They're very versatile in the fact that you can actually run a node from a Raspberry Pi just shows the power of
Yeah.
Bitcoin. And obviously now you need, if you want to run a full node, you need a lot of storage space. But contrast that with Solana, where you basically need like a fiber optic line, and you need to be spending upwards often of $1,000 a month plus as a starter to run a Solana node. And I still think you have to get approved after that. So, I mean, Solana is great. And obviously Solana is killing on meme coins. And obviously, unfortunately, that's where we inherited Ski God from. But, we welcome him with open arms.
Come on, too close to that now.
Yeah. But with Bitcoin, like, it just goes to show, like, you don't need a lot of compute power to do it. And the Raspberry Pi, my son's getting into them now. You can do so much on it. I basically, you can use it, something called a Pi hole, to block your entire network, and all spam coming in. It basically has a database that keeps expanding, and it will block all the Amazon, Comcast, and Google. Like, I mean, those companies are, and spammers across the world are literally pinging you every second. Like, you're getting 10, 20, 30 a second. When you're active online, it's even more, obviously. And Raspberry Pi with simple programs can do so much, but it was an integral part of the evolution of Bitcoin, because see what's out there, use what you have, and it just shows how versatile it is. And I do agree with Ski God, it does look like a cool, like, cracked lava floor in the head too. So I love when there's like, what it means to one person who loves Raspberry Pi, it means one thing, and another person's like, I love lava, I got this one. You're like, that's a Raspberry, dude. Be like, oh, I still love it.
It's almost like that dude made of stone from the Fantastic Four. I always forget his name, but he's got the little cracks going on.
His name is Thing.
Beautiful.
And he could. I always Raspberry thought Thing could rival the Hulk. Personally, I don't know if that's true, but I think he could rival the Hulk.
Have to go back and watch. Yeah, I totally agree. It's something I never really thought about. Just something so small can be that widely used, and I never gave any thought really to what was kind of under the hood behind these things. I never knew people were running just these small little open source handheld devices to do all of that, which is, it's pretty cool, especially considering how intense the mining industry is and everything else today. It's fairly simple to spin up a node, even by today's standards.
Absolutely. So there's Thing on the left, both big. Both have big muscles, but Thing's made of rock.
Oh, wow.
So I always thought he could
Throwback.
take Hulk, but Marvel people probably would disagree. Yeah, this is probably before your time, but there was a cartoon in the late 70s, early 80s, and it was Fantastic Four, and there was the stretchy guy. Oh wait, maybe I'm mistaken that. Maybe, yeah, no, he was in Fantastic Four. I think he was like the only,
thought I did remember that.
He was the only cool badass one, and the other one was like a husband-wife, like, lame duo. And then there was one other guy, stretchy guy. Anyway, so Thing was in that, but I think he probably wanted to get out because they weren't tough enough.
It's too rubbery. But that's it for for this shroom.
What about you, Kenny? Any thoughts on Raspberry Pi?
Yeah, I've got a couple of thoughts actually. I think like what we talked about last episode, I thought was really interesting. I said that oftentimes in the Bitcoin shrooms, you can find the little pixelated Bitcoin logo. If Blue, if you could pull up the Raspberry Pi once again,
absolutely,
the shroom. If you look at the top right leaf, you can see it really, really faint on the leaf that there is the small Bitcoin logo.
Oh, no way. I love that.
Which is, yeah.
Did not notice that.
That son of a bitch snuck that in there, huh?
Son of a bitch. Sheet.
Yeah, so
if he's watching right now, he's probably like, gotcha,
Dude, Snoop Toast or Shroom Toshi is watching all of these shows.
We know you're out there.
I would love to know that.
He's lurking.
I'd
we
love
see
to.
Shroom Toshi. We see you. We appreciate you. We'll give you.
Give us a sign, Shroom Toshi. Give us a sign.
Oh, that'd be nice.
All right.
Put a comment and we'll send you a mug.
Yeah, exactly. We got some merch for you, SD. But
we'll send him a mug. That's the least we could do.
But yeah, so that's one of the things I think is really cool. Aesthetically, for me, it's definitely the top 10. I love this one so much. It's really awesome. And
That's
then
up
there's
there
two
then.
other things. So I think Shroom Toshi oftentimes referred to ordinals as next level cyber vandalism, which I think is really cool because if people like host nodes, and especially if they host Ord clients, they have to basically have a copy of all inscriptions on their hard drive, and like regardless if they want to or not, they have it, and it is kind of vandalism at that point where you can put onto the blockchain whatever you want, and these motherfuckers are hosting them with their Raspberry Pis. So I think that's really cool. And there is another
Totally.
like really small thing. I can't remember, but I believe underneath the tweets, like the original tweets that Shroom Toshi made, sometimes he would post a second tweet, of which unfortunately I don't think we have records anymore, but I remember very faintly there was a discussion between Vitalik and someone else. Vitalik, obviously, as most people know, founder of Ethereum, and they were kind of
Topical.
discussing the whole node thing. And basically, what the argument was is that Bitcoin could be like the whole Bitcoin system can be hosted on a computer in the size of a credit card, which is kind of right with Raspberry Pi, right? If you guys saw the picture Blue pulled up a couple minutes ago, then you would have seen that these Raspberry Pis are really small, and yeah, that kind of like adds on to the simplicity of hosting something like a Bitcoin node. And yeah, I mean, I really love it. I host a Bitcoin node on a Raspberry Pi. It's super simple,
Cool.
it's so quick, so easy, and yeah, I think everybody should.
That is rather noble of you, Kenny. I admit I have not actually spun up a node yet before, and I after kind of digging into this and realizing how easy it is, I've been kind of coming around, and there are a couple of shrooms we're going to get into too that I think will make that point even more prescient. But that's really cool to know, and yeah, I would love to talk to you about that.
For sure. So
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, let's transition. Either of you two guys are welcome to take it. Oh, I think you know what? Let's start with Rolo, and you guys will learn why for obvious reasons in a second. But Rolo, let's roll into the next one.
Oh man, okay. I'm maybe the underqualified one to take it, but I'll give it a stab.
Well, I figured you kick it off, and then Kenny takes us.
Yeah, no, I would love it. Would be an honor. But boy, I say that because this one's a loaded one. It's I mean, all right, aesthetics. Not my favorite shroom. I kind of hate this one. Everybody has their likes and their dislikes. I've maybe never seen a worse design or color scheme. I don't really, yeah, I just don't think I resonate with it. I don't vibe with it. Said no one ever. I think this is a beauty, and it would be, I'd be remiss in saying if none other than our legend Kenny was the actual owner of this little beauty. Boy, is it a unique piece. It's we've got a clean shroom with a nice, blue and gold aesthetic, and just that bold lightning rod. I think it's one of the coolest shrooms of the lightning series. You will see that there's a few others that look like that, but it's just an awesome piece, and I think it's got a bold presence. The symbolism, the R and the B, we'll kind of get into that, but you know I would say, people probably identify with this shroom in the crypto Twitter space for more than one reasons, because Kenny has been so diligent about, making posts every day, educational content, about what these shrooms are. And he makes some awesome educational posts each time. And I think people have kind of come to identify that shroom, sort of with his persona. And, I just wanted to ask you, Kenny, just how you came to acquire this shroom, and what was sort of the history, what was your experience going through obtaining this beautiful piece, and how did that all go down? What are your thoughts about it?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the kind words. I mean, I've always
Understatements.
enjoyed the this shroom journey. I mean, it's like a real passion for me, and that's the whole reason why I do this all. So big thanks. And yeah, I mean, I might be a little biased on this shroom, as you would maybe
I was a little
expect,
harsh.
but no, like this is of course one of my absolute favorite shrooms. I mean, the colors are amazing. As many of you guys may know, like this is one I own together with Goated. So probably most people know Goated, who is
Leo.
rocking a Node Monkey. Yeah, Leo, exactly.
Yes,
And
Leo the legend.
yeah, so this is actually a really personal Bitcoin shroom as well, because when Leo and I began our Bitcoin shroom journey, we wanted to start like a project, not in like a sense of like an ordinals project, but just like a self home project. We saw that like what nodes are and what's the best way to run a node. And we saw that there were some node Bitcoin shrooms, and we just picked this one out because it looked really cool, and we wanted to run a Raspberry Blitz Bitcoin node. So Rollo hasn't explained yet, but uh, Raspberry Blitz is basically software to run a Bitcoin node for advanced users, I guess, which we didn't know beforehand. Leo and I were kind of just blindly going into it. And so we ordered all the stuff on Amazon, which you can just order like a Raspberry Pi, uh, Ethernet cables. What else? Like you need like a shell for the outside, like a hard drive, of course. And yeah, we tried to spin up our own Raspberry Blitz node. We found out it was very much more difficult than we actually expected. Um, as also is said in the description of this shroom, it's a bit more for advanced users. We'll see like a more easier alternative in a minute. But yeah, so that was basically our first real contact with deep diving into one specific shroom. And I think then after that, it kind of became clear that that was something that really resonated with our Bitcoin story as well, right? I mean, that was like the first real contact and the first deep dive, the first time really going through the ins and outs of Bitcoin. So yeah, absolute personal story. Then of course, yeah, it was clear that Leo, Goated, and I we really like this one.
I love knowing that. And I also, have some personal nostalgia and ties whenever I hear Leo's name, because he was quite frankly the guy who got my foot in the door, for the very first room that I picked up. So he super kind dude, and he didn't know me, Adam from Apple, and I kind of cold reached out to him when I realized that these things were OTCing, and he was kind enough to to kind of get my ear, I guess, or get Shrimtoshi's ear and kind of get me in contact with him for some of those OTC dealings. And I don't know if that would have happened without him. So I'm forever indebted and always appreciate that. So I love knowing that you and Leo kind of did that together, and I love seeing when people kind of joint venture Shrooms. So super cool, man.
And Kenny, I did a little homework this morning, and I went back to some old tweets that Daza had pulled up, but it was conversations that you had. I mean, you've been talking with Shrimtoshi and DMs since the beginning, which is super cool to think about. But between you and there's one other guy that was inscribed. There's a great inscribed interview with you and Shrimtoshi, correct?
Yeah, so there is an interview that was inscribed. I'm not sure which one you're talking about specifically. So there's two different things. There's one, a screenshot I inscribed back in the day where I asked Shroomtoshi what shrooms meant to him. I'm not sure if you're referring to that one or the one I think the guy's name was called Devin or something. That like he interviewed him again with like a similar subset of questions. I'm not sure which one you're
I
referring to.
think the one I have up right now is Inscription 35,458,816, and it's a longer interview. I think yours was the one that was just a couple questions, right? But it's so cool to see their scribe too, Ann Saxon, basically
Yeah, I love
right at the
that.
beginning, nobody had shrooms, and these guys are already in this thing, like first to comment on it. It's so
I
cool
never
to
knew that.
see.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's cool to see the history of all this. And I know this screen is super small, but he lists his favorite shrooms aesthetically, emotionally.
I'm blown away.
And it's really great. I can actually here. Let me just show you one of these. Which one do you want to see? And who wants to guess his favorite shroom? His favorite aesthetic one?
Oh man, drum roll on that. I feel like at one
I
point he used
remember
the
now.
orange pill quite a bit.
I think he likes orange pill, but aesthetically, his favorite is
Yeah.
drum roll, please.
Moon to the moon.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a beauty. Yeah, that's a fucking.
I
beauty.
remember now.
That one was gone.
So back in the day, Leo, Sa, and I actually hosted Bitcoin Shroom Spaces, very much like we do today as well. That was back in, I think, May or June, and I sent Shroom Toshi a load of questions, and these were his answers, and I think Devin inscribed them then on chain, and we basically were kind of using the space as a medium to kind of show people shrooms, because they still weren't like crazy famous. Of course, to the people who were in like the circle of like low inscriptions and who already knew the ins and outs of Bitcoin ordinals, but a lot of people still hadn't heard of them. That's actually really funny. I completely forgot about that. I need to find the space we hosted. Maybe I'll find the link and I'll be able to post it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, post it in here if you can. Because we're just going to be going through the entire history of this, but the interview is great. And I guess I just wanted to take this time to say, Kenny, we appreciate you. You've been here since the beginning. You've never wavered, and you've always been just a kind of a fan of not only Bitcoin shroom culture, but also Bitcoin culture and preserving this history. If it weren't for you and Daki and a couple of these other folks, some of this stuff, because, when Shroom Toshi left, a lot of it was on Twitter. And when he deleted that, it kind of went away. But you guys had already gotten scraped and you already had most
that could have all died. Yeah. Kudos to you guys.
Hey guys, real quick, we're 20, 30 minutes in here. I want to remind everybody watching, we're going to be doing a giveaway at the end, Bitcoin Shroom merchandise each episode. This episode, we got a cool, fun Shrooms Are Coming mug. We got 230 people watching right now. Please share this live video. We're trying to build the awareness for Bitcoin Shrooms. And, everybody, thank you for doing that. And make sure you comment. We're going through some of these. Let us know what you think. And real quick, before we move on to the next one, I just wanted to ask a unique question to Kenny, because he's one of the few that have had the ability to interact with Shroom Toshi more than most. Is there anything that jumps out at you over the time you've interacted with him that's like an interesting tidbit about maybe his personality or something that you picked up that I think people out there who will never get the chance to speak with him would find like cool or interesting about being part of that core that now doesn't exist, of people that got to actually speak with him?
Oh, that's such a difficult question. There's a ton of things I think that really stand out for Shroom Toshi. I think the things that come to my mind straight away is the sheer knowledge he has about Bitcoin, which kind of always led me to believe that he's been in Bitcoin for a very, very, very long time. He understands the technicals of Bitcoin as much as he really understands the whole meme culture and the whole like everything around Bitcoin. He's a very funny guy, I think, and he was always very reserved. Yeah, a little cheeky as well, or actually quite cheeky sometimes, I think. But he was always very humorous, and yeah, he was always very like I don't know if reserved is the right word. I mean, he'd never state his
humble
publicly. Yeah, very humble.
Yeah, he had a reserved, humble nature.
I think I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's super neat to hear about. That's a great question, Ski God. I mean,
yeah, totally.
he just looking at that interview this morning. Yeah, he does have a sense of humor, and you know, the beauty in ordinals. We pretty much all the founders, you know, some of them remain anonymous, but I mean, let's be frank, we all know who they are because they generally came over from ETH, or like most people are knowable. Like I said, I talked to some of the people who were helping set up ordinals from the beginning, and even they're like, yeah, I talked to him once. Like, he kept himself very anonymous, which I think is, and I'm sure somebody knows who he is, but he was very savvy with Bitcoin, very savvy with you know, being self-sovereign and covering his tracks and not keeping too much of a public profile. And you know, he or she were able to sell all of these, and you know, and give some away to the people who are some of the best supporters. And it's cool. It's a good success story, and you know, those are the ones, those are the folks you root for, and not the folks out there. And there's plenty who were very extractive in their pamping and selling of ordinals.
One of the few good ones, I agree. And that also, by the way, I just want to point out, that's how you know I couldn't be Shroomtoshi, because I couldn't even fucking drop a meme coin yesterday for my life if it depended on it. So that's yeah, he was a skilled dude. Yeah, it's just a cover. He was a skilled dude, and it's very rare, I think, like you said, to see people in the space who have that much, I think, experience, have been around for so long, and are so technically inclined, and have seen it, done it, been there, dealt with you know who, and still were that humble and willing to engage with people and just leave something really cool for the community to kind of just build on their own. He didn't really ask for much, I guess, other than some Bitcoin, but that, like, he did
okay.
He did it right, but do you blame him? And yeah, he put a lot of work into it, and just didn't make a fuss about it. I was always very impressed by that, and that just always struck me. A super nice guy. Always dealing with him is very pleasant.
Absolutely. So we spent a little extra time on Raspberry Blitz because our one and only Kenny, key archivist, is him with Leo Goated, are the owners of that. So let's slide back, and Kenny, why don't we start with you on this? Oh no.
Mm-hmm. Oh shit.
Shoot. Can we just skip this one?
Next room.
Is this a little baby? What is this thing? Okay, so now two in a row. So you guys are you were birthed back to back. So we got twins in here, everybody. So this is if you look up, the umbral is Ski God's Bitcoin Shroom. But Kenny, why don't you kick it off, and then I know Ski God's a really emotional guy. We'll let him close with this one, because he's just going to gush on and on because he's a very sentimental chap.
Yeah, and Kenny, before you dive in, I just want to, before it sits for too long, I saw we have user Banyan Ackerman asked in the chat. He said, "What is Bitcoin Shrooms?" Question mark. And we'll, if you want to reach out to us, we can give you a little crash course on what they are. We can link you to some websites to kind of do a little digging, but we'd be glad to kind of go into it. And
watch episode 0.
Also, yes, you may dig into episode 0. You can kind of start from the beginning, and any questions we'd be happy to fill in along the way and just kind of fill the gaps. But
absolutely,
it's a cool collection.
So the 4 of you guys know, that is a YouTube comments. So on YouTube, as you could probably guess, there's probably people who don't understand what some of this stuff is. They're like, what's on my timeline right now? I don't get it. Most of us, Benyon, are on X, where most of Bitcoin ordinals and Bitcoin folks are. But we're steadily expanding. But it's a great question. We appreciate you.
Yeah. So I think this is also a shroom like the last one. I think this one a lot of people know. I mean, Ski God, this is the one you're rocking. This is the one you're known for. Ski God came to Shrooms fairly late. Shrooms had already been distributed when he joined us. But nonetheless, I think you are one of the loudest Shrooms, the one of the people who rock and rep the Bitcoin Shrooms the most. I mean, you joining us on this shroom journey has been like a pleasure. I mean, don't start crying. Like, well, this is the only time I'm ever gonna give you this much clout.
You couldn't help getting all the compliments.
We're often rude, but we had to say something nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's been awesome to have you on this shroom journey. I mean, you really made this shroom stand out. I mean, this when I see this shroom, I think about you first thing straight away. I mean, pacifier. It's a dope fucking shroom. And it's quite funny because Ski and I started Shroom Sunday Spaces before Ski actually had this Bitcoin shroom. Before you were rocking the MySpace Bitcoin shroom, and it was a very funny coincidence.
MySpace.
Yeah, it's a funny coincidence that
which you still do.
That like now it's the it's kind of like the brother shroom to the Raspberry Blitz Bitcoin shroom, which is the Umbro Bitcoin shroom. If you guys didn't know the name of this exactly, they are siblings. Raspberry Blitz and Umbro are both Bitcoin node softwares, and the tweet from Shroomtoshi is a pre-configured full node starter kit that will make running Bitcoin as easy as saying bye-bye cloud. And he also tags Umbro and says, also, listen to scientists. Can't remember if there's anything below that. No, I think that's it. And yeah, I mean, I actually run my node with Umbro. Ironically, I think it's the best way to run a full Bitcoin node. It's super easy, super simple. I mean, it's only like 5 steps. And yeah, it already is the best way to secure the Bitcoin network. And also, in reference to a shroom we had on our last week's episode, is don't trust, verify. I mean, with this software, you can basically verify every single transaction on the Bitcoin blockchain and make sure that when you're sending sats and receiving sats that you actually own these sats. And yeah, I mean, absolute grail of a shroom, also because of the holder, of course, behind it. So yeah, big shout out.
Yeah, this is
to tie it back to what were you gonna say?
I said, take it away.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, to tie it back to the conversation we were having about Shroomtoshi, my very, very limited interaction with him was sending him 1.6 Bitcoin for this shroom. So all I've done with Shroomtoshi is give the guy money. So that's my limited interaction. I've heard maybe 3 sentences from him at best.
No, I that brings back great memories, man. This shroom, you know, it's also, believe it or not, if you could actually believe it, it's special to me too, because we, you know, our paths crossed at some point well before this shroom ski, but we, you know, I remember there came a time eventually where, you know, we'll go into the history of that as to how we met, but there came a time where you kind of wanted another shroom, and you started off with that MySpace one, which I often forget. And then you wanted to get this little guy, and you had your eyes set on this Umbrella shroom for a while. And I think, you know, it's just kind of cool and ties back to that whole history of when Shroom Toshi was kind of beginning to phase out and he was distributing his last few shrooms. At the time, I think I just maybe OTC'd like my last shroom, and ST had let me know that there were a few that were still left that that were going to go up, and if anybody was looking for one, he wanted to get them to folks who either hadn't had one or just maybe were interested in these for particular reasons. And of the three, I think it was the Italian pumpkin, the shroom audible shroom, the big headphones, and this little guy. You had always had your eyes set on it anyway, and so we the three of us got into a chat together, and I just always remember how fun that was. The three of us just kind of going back and forth and doing a little brokering together, and you made it happen, and you got this little piece from him. And it was literally, I think it was maybe like the second or maybe even the last brokered shroom, the actual OTC shroom. So it's kind of cool. I always fondly remember that. And for as loud of a critic and sometimes a jaded cynic that you are, my God, are you a diamond-handed diehard shroomer and a real ordinal hodler. You've been there from the start, and here you are on set. You've become a true community member, and we love having you. And just kicking off our friendship in real life, and crossing paths that way. Never would have expected it. Never would have thought we'd joint own a shroom, let alone spend any time tolerating each other in Miami. And dude, we're just jazzed to have you, and love this shroom, man.
Well, I appreciate it, but I absolutely can't wait to sell my shrooms to a more worthy person down the road, and then hopefully, we could say our goodbyes and reminisce about the good old days. I'm not early to ordinals, guys. Like I am late to ordinals. I bought the top of shrooms. I have done all the wrong things. However, I still do believe that this is going to be realized as the greatest collection on any blockchain. So I'm kind of dug in here. That's exactly what a top buying community member would say and should say. However, I was such a suck. My favorite color is purple, and I feel like purple is it's like my favorite day of the week is Tuesday, and my favorite color is purple. These are unappreciated things that are part of everyday life.
Fucking Tuesday.
And
not that I mind Tuesday, but what makes it your favorite? Just because it's like the relief of not being Monday?
I've always felt. Well, that's definitely a big point. My wife's always home, but I would say if you're doing something in life that you really enjoy, then Tuesday should be a day that you really enjoy, because you get to grind. You're doing the things that you want. You've shaken off the weekend if you were being debaucherous or whatever, and you should be like in your zone. And I just feel like Tuesday is a disrespected day that deserves more recognition. You got hump day behind it. Day. Like all the holidays are on Mondays. Like Tuesday gets no respect. And I feel like purple also doesn't get any respect. And oddly enough, Kenny's shroom, I feel like there's a little bit of a purple in there too. It's like a dark blue purple, and I'm like a light blue purple. And I feel like it's I've always been a fan, so it stands out. Like I think shrooms are very PFP brandable, and I think you're not going to see many other purple PFPs, and I think that helps you stand out in a sea of PFPs. So that's why I like it. You
are the first person who I have ever met now that I know their favorite day, and it's you own Tuesdays. Actually, who else liked Tuesdays? I believe Wimpy from Popeye. Didn't he say, "I'll gladly, if you give me a hamburger now, Popeye, I will gladly pay you Tuesday"?
We didn't watch Popeye, man. We were not watching Popeye. Okay, God,
that was before my days.
Shit. Forgot.
Same.
That's
and
what
you know,
Saturday.
Kenny's
Saturday
Kenny's like, never even heard of it. At least
Kenny doesn't even know what Popeye is.
At least you two have heard of it. All right, forget it. Nobody knows who Wimpy is. He would eat cheeseburgers, and Popeye would always buy him one. He'd be like, "Can I have a cheeseburger, sir? I will gladly pay you Tuesday." That's the only other reference to Tuesday that I know. That's genius. But you're right. If you love what you do, because Mondays a lot of times, like I'll save. I love what I do. I know the four of us do, but what I do is Mondays, like it's still Monday. You're still like hungover, just exhausted. So I always do like all the paperwork and the crap I don't want to do on Monday, and then I feel good having done that. And you're right, Tuesday.
It's like Monday, you've had your chance.
Yeah, Tuesday is the start of like, okay, what's the how do I push the creative ball forward? How do I push the company forward? So Ski God, I got to say, I had little respect for you before, but I got a little respect for you now. That's like a clever take.
Jesus, I didn't think we were gonna make that much ground today.
Yeah, not too much. We'll once he and I go back in Discord and start bickering like an old married couple, we'll digress and we'll go back to our corners. But no, Ski God, it has been a pleasure having you in here. I'm curious how. Like you were big in Solana. Obviously, you're a big trader. We interviewed you on Decentraland, and you were a trader. You're a poker player. How did you? Who brought you over from Solana?
Where can we track them down and break their kneecaps?
Yeah, I was gonna say, and the next question is, and why?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think I'm not sure. I can't remember what brought me to Ordinals.
Because you're
maybe
a
there was some sort of
trader, like you're an enigma because you're usually a fast in and out trader. You've got good, he could be CIA, but he's got good instincts on trades. Like he's always helping us like not get over our skis. Of course, he makes all the mistakes that he preaches, like we all do. But coming to Ordinal, it's just funny because now you're buying art. You're like, I'm gonna ditch you guys in 2 years, and I'm gonna sell my stuff, and I'm gonna retire on this island. But yet you're round tripping with the rest of us. You were last in. You're going to be the last to go because you're going to be 55 or 60 or whatever. And you're going to be like, man, you guys are a good group. Like, this is awesome.
Black Guy points out in the comments
top signal.
Yeah. Black Guy says he's never seen Ski and Toshi in a single room.
I guarantee you I want to sell everything. That's for sure. Yes, I like to be a cross-chain guy. I am currently in my shitcoin arc, of course. However, we are rooted at the base with Bitcoin Shrooms for now. But I don't know what. I just think ordinals. Quick side tangent. Ordinals are set up to be the strongest, most reflexive, most like sendy NFT collections across all chains just because of how difficult it is to increase supply, how calcified the groups are getting, and how I think Ordinals will have its eventual season where people really get on board with them. And when those do, people will, once everybody was in the ETH NFT game, they started thinking, what's the rarest shit? I want to be the one with the rarest shit, right? And since it's very hard to come across Bitcoin Shrooms just in general based on the way markets like show projects, like that's part of the reason why we're doing this, right? So that people actually know what they are. So I think once Ordinals have their next season, which will be season 3, if you will, like people are going to dig in and be like, what are the rare things? And like, there's just nothing close to this unless you want one-of-one inscriptions. So that's it, man. That's my shill of Bitcoin Shrooms for the day.
Wow. Yeah, I agree. I think as Kenny has pointed out, even a couple of times, that the history will what the Shrooms are will always kind of be self-evident. It will always be out there for people to discover, as he's often pointed out. And I agree with you as well. I think they'll be discovered at some point because you almost can't deny it. That they just are what they are. And I also, I personally think these things take time. It may not even be a same cycle kind of thing, as we've kind of said before. That the punks in 2017 didn't have their recognition until or at least in the large sense that they did in 2021, 22. These things take time, and shrooms have been around, since maybe 23. And it takes time for, especially for a collection this small and, just powered by a small little niche community. It'll take time, but I do find it is impressive how few, our first sale people, there are some shrooms in there that have just been unlisted for so long. And it's clear as day that people know what they're holding on to. And you've never really seen that floor flash down below a Bitcoin, except for maybe once, I think at a really, really low trough time in the market. So people really know what they have. And, there just aren't that many for sale right now. And that they're all unique.
And the listings that are like the top half of the listings aren't even real numbers. You know what I mean?
Right.
People have them for sale for like,
you got the 42069 ask.
Like those don't even matter. Those are like non-listed.
Right. They're like for the culture listings.
Yeah.
So just for the record, the first shroom, because you brought up when it was inscribed on January 21st, 2023 at 3:30 in the morning. So
he's up early.
And I don't know if 3:30 this might be on. I don't know if it's my time or if it's on like Greenwich.
We don't know. Yeah. Where in the world was ST?
Yeah, exactly. So just interesting because what is it? The 22nd today, 23rd. So we are actually we're 2 days past the 2-year Shroomversary of his first etching, and the first one of the proto shrooms was inscription number 19. So this is the first really Legend. To me full and complete Bitcoin set of art, that's 100 plus or more. There's a lot of smaller stuff in there that was a full thought and a full collection on the history of Bitcoin. So just wanted to throw that out there. I thought that was a cool little fact. So let's transition on. Who wants to take now that we can finally, it was like, oh, thank God. Bye, baby. Good night. Now we can get back to aesthetically pleasing shrooms again. Just kidding. I actually love the other one because it's very symmetrical, which is good. So who wants to kick this one off?
I can grab it. I'll do this one. I did just want to quickly point out, the umbrella. We didn't really do too much deep dive into the history. I'll just give a quick synopsis on this one. Umbrel, I think maybe Kenny had pointed out a couple things. There's a company known as Umbrel, and they sell a $300, $400 all-in-one device that's got a lot of tech packed into it, like a quad-core CPU. It's got, I think it's 16 gigs of RAM, an SSD drive, gigabit Ethernet port, and literally I had no idea that these things existed. And Shroomtoshi even linked the @handle to the company Umbrel. And so I went on there, looked at their website. They run their own open source software called Umbrel OS, which they released to the public on GitHub. And you could buy this all-in-one device and essentially host your own server. Basically imagine being able to tell Google Drive and iCloud to fuck off and put all of your stored data onto your own server at home. And literally you can spin up your entire video, photo collection, personal, items into a cloud that you can access from anywhere on the internet and not have that be owned by Big Brother. So that's what this device is really getting at. And, and Umbrella, I think their moniker is, you never protect yourself for a rainy day, and you got to have an umbrella on. You don't want to have your pants exposed when, you trust your stuff to Big Brother. So that's kind of what this was about. So go check out Umbrel. It's a really cool tech and a nice little stocking stuffer. But with that said, number 698, ordinal number 698, prune mode. This is a cool one for a few reasons. I always fondly think of the peach emoji that people love to share. With the look of a nice behind, I guess you could say. I always think of an ass when I see this shroom, for better or worse. It's like a little purple ass. But
Rolo just brought us from PG to R. Thanks,
unbelievable.
I'm sorry, I had to go there. I mean,
never
look, you know,
thought
we've he did up top. You know, he went with 615, and then I thought maybe this one was his way of kind of like covering the bottom. And you know, I hate to be crass, but that's where my mind goes with this
just
clean.
Behind is a strong word. Just try and find something a little softer, please.
Yeah, my apologies. Yeah, it's a squishy, juicy little shroom, and it again plays on the food aesthetic. You know, it's clean. It's not fully symmetric, but I still like it. And actually, as Kenny has pointed out, you've got that little Bitcoin bee in the leaf there once again. And you know, I'll ask what our audience thinks. Do you guys like this shroom? Thumbs up or thumbs down on this one? We'd like to know. You know, we've gone through Umbral, we've gone through Raspberry Pi. Let us know what you think about, you know, these last few. What do you think they meant? Do you like them? Do you not like them? And just tell us why. But you know, I think it's fairly straightforward colorway. It's a good looking shroom. I think if you saw it hanging at a discount, you know, there are not too many clean shrooms that are in the food category. So
prunes fall to the floor. It's a floor.
It's a floor. Okay. Well, you know, to each one man's trash is another man's treasure. But yes,
that's the beauty of this collection. Yeah, there are ones that I don't like that are like everybody else thinks is an absolute grail. So
yeah, Not Parma says thumbs up. So we got a fan. Lore time. So, you know, we'll talk about what is prune mode. You know, the link that Shroomtoshi left for the description of this shroom, it's actually pretty cool. You know, we've hit upon this a couple of times. Shroomtoshi has inscribed some links with several of these with the description, which I think is neat because he kind of I guess you could say archives pieces of internet history that go beyond just a little description. He puts a pathway to get to the past. And the link leads to an old Reddit forum from 8 years ago covering what Bitcoin's prune mode is all about. So I thought that was kind of cool. So I dug it up, you know, and kind of read into it. And basically what the people were kind of describing in there is that, you know, it's a way to save a ton of space on your computer, but run a node. So going into it, the description that Shroomtoshi left behind for the shroom says, quote, "No need for a dedicated RPI, though. Bitcoin can run on almost any laptop in prune mode. The thing being pruned is the blockchain and JPEGs after being validated, not the self-sovereignty." So we'll kind of pick that apart. But again, prune mode is a technology that was enabled on Bitcoin to help you save a lot of computer space if you want to run a node, but you don't have a lot of, you know, storage. So basically you need to first fully download the entire Bitcoin blockchain. So you do have to do that. But afterwards, prune mode will retroactively throw away all the old data that it no longer needs to consider the blockchain valid, and will include already validated transactions. So downsides are, you know, as a node, other nodes cannot download your copy of the blockchain because it's not a full copy because it's been pruned down. So technically speaking, you will not propagate more blockchain security, but you will help maintain it because you are still validating transactions for other people. So that's an interesting and you know, maybe kind of technical fact, but other nodes will not be getting a valid ledger copy from you when you use prune mode. But you can still help validate transactions in minor blocks. So pretty cool shroom. I never knew that about this technology. And yeah, what do you guys think?
What do you think, Kenny?
Yeah, I think that's you hit the nail on the head there. There's not too much I can add from like a technical aspect or anything like that. I think you cleared it perfectly.
What about a delicious spankable ass? Do you have any comments on that?
I've got to say, like aesthetically, I'm in the same camp as Ski God. I this is not one for me. I think the three we had before are way better. I just think it's made well, but it's like the prune on top is just a bit too big, kind of for the shroom. So it's a pass for me, but Say again.
I'm just being a crash.
He's being a professional, eating a hoagie as he comments on things. Even we didn't understand what you just said.
This guy.
I've lost the plot.
This guy.
But we did make him wake up an hour earlier for the show. Usually he gets up at 2, but we made him wake up at 1. So he has a good excuse at least.
I'm cooked.
You guys creating shitcoins at 4 a.m. and then getting up and doing crash courses on Bitcoin shrooms. Like, what a life.
And he's rugged his best friends.
Yes.
Hey guys, I created a new meme coin. Everyone get in. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. He doesn't have any more coins left though. I don't know what happened.
I got drained.
Yeah,
so did you.
That was a doozy. Yeah, I don't know if I could recommend dropping meme coins. That was quite a learning experience. But yes, I'm technically a bumbling idiot.
Anyway, Kenny, we digress. The prune balloon shroom, I like that.
It's good, it's good to have ones that you don't love. I think that's what makes this collection so great. Some people are just not gonna like some of these, and some people love them. I personally like it, but I like to see that you guys have quite different opinions on it. And yeah,
I just like that Ski God likes the color purple, and he says it's his favorite color.
Yeah, that shows you how much.
And then all of a sudden he pulls a 180 on
right. His umbrella is blue.
Beauty with a booty.
Okay, no, my umbrella is a blurple. Okay, it's a blue and purple.
I think it's more of a baby blue. It's like the blanket you buy for the newborn for your
newborn. Nice little, yeah. Powder blue.
Powder blue. Yeah.
You guys are distracted by the
like ass.
You guys are distracted by the tall girl. I'm more of the peach emoji guy. You guys clearly like the runway model prunes. So.
Am I the only one who kind of I don't know if I'd buy it, but aesthetically I kind of like this one. I agree with Kenny. It's a little skinny on the top, and maybe the leaf brings it a little higher than the normal, and maybe because it looks like a like I'm thinking of those old cartoons, which you guys are too young for, but like like a Woody Woodpecker when the snake handler has the snake come out of the basket and he's got that awesome hat on, like. It makes the Bitcoin shroom head kind of it makes the proportions on that different, but I still think since I actually like the real color purple and not baby blurple, I think this one's okay.
Shots fired. Yeah, it's a little top heavy or a little tall, bottom heavy. But yeah, I'm with you.
It's kind of shaped like Blue Toshi. Like it just kind of looks like him somehow. So maybe
hot take.
Maybe you should own that one.
I like it. You know what? I deserve it. I've been throwing the Ski God out. He's just been the whole show has been collecting notes, taking thoughts. He's like, I'll get you back. So that is true. I am tall and lean. I am more like a pencil eraser more than the pencil. So, Ken, is there any more we want to talk about the actual shroom and the prune mode? I mean, it goes to say it is cool that even with Bitcoin, if you don't have a full node, but you still want to verify on a smaller portion of the chain, you can. So prune mode is it's trying to be accessible to all.
Yeah, I think there's actually an experiment where someone used an old Android phone and actually ran a Bitcoin node via prune.
That's crazy.
So that's cool as well.
Yeah.
Wow. The phones are so powerful these days. So I guess I could see it.
Oh man.
No, it was a proper shit one as well.
We got a good one.
Good phone.
This is a lot to talk about here. Ski God, I know you and Kenny, we bumped the Orange Pill show to do this show, but like
this is a goodie.
There's a lot here. So
there's a lot to unpack on this guy.
Yeah, because I've got a long history with Coinbase. But Rollo, why don't you tell us what this means?
Sure.
Fuck
sure,
Coinbase.
Yeah. Right. Thank you, Kenny.
I think we're gonna
Kenny
love
just summed up
this
everything.
one.
Thank you.
You're right. I would love to know what the audience thinks of this guy too. But yeah, ordinal number 695 delete Coinbase is the name, and I think we love it. It's a seriously cool shroom, aesthetically, signature clean shroom design, which some of us seem to really like. I personally love clean shrooms. It's got the nice blue cap featuring a bold white C with the X red X drawn over it. And I think that iconography, clearly resembles the logo of Coinbase and our industry's most famous or infamous centralized exchange. And it's therefore, culturally, historically, it's a fairly important shroom in terms of its artistic symbolism, because, we're going to jump into that momentarily, but this is, it's even still a topical thing today. In terms of taking a little pit stop along the way, market history and OTC history, I also think there's some interesting tidbits about this one. So, an interesting fact, the individual who first obtained this shroom via OTC directly with Shroomtoshi then publicly stated that they'd sunk a huge proportion of their total holdings to obtain it. And in a later public broadcast, they quickly reversed course and basically said they were going to sell it for break even and come back to Shrooms at a later point in time, because they'd kind of bit off more than they can chew. And I respect the hell out of them, for making that play. They were completely transparent about it, stated their piece, why they, were passing it on to the next person. And, they stated their reasons. There's no sell shaming. He had his reasons that he needed to kind of turn it over to somebody else. But I thought that was a cool, I guess you could say, historical kind of market factoid tied to it, that, somebody basically realized, they were like, he literally said, he was like, I love the Shrooms and I hope to be back one day. I just can't do it right now. And I'm hopefully going to, turn whatever other capital I'm turning this into more to be able to one day get a Shroom again. And so hopefully we'll see you back there if you're out there. But yeah, going back into what this Shroom actually is, well, let's ask our audience, what do you guys think of this Shroom? Thumbs up or down? Delete Coinbase. Do we like it? I'm going to give it a thumbs up. That's my jam.
A thumbs up, aesthetically thumbs up.
At a minimum, yeah. Okay. Yeah, aesthetically,
right?
Definitely. And ideologically, yeah. Like, I think I'll give two thumbs up in that regard. But yeah, so lore time. We'll get into it. The title is Delete Coinbase. That's what this Shroom is called. And I think that, as we said, the message rather clear. Shroomtoshi, this piece suggests a dissatisfaction or mistrust towards Coinbase, and more broadly at the concept of centralized exchanges. And I think with this message, ST, was clearly encouraging users to cut ties with this and other platforms of that nature. And, I asked, do you blame them? As we laid out in the very first several Shrooms of episode 1, one of his fundamental rules was not your keys, not show crypto. And that's basically as fundamental as it gets. The second you put your crypto on a centralized exchange, it is no longer yours. That custody is no longer, of yours. It's their custody. They own the assets. They can lend it out. They can do whatever they want with it. And if they go bust, guess what? They're not really accountable. So, and with that, Shroom description for this one reads, quote, "Are you saying you never had a Coinbase account in the first place? 6th rule, delete it anyway." So I think, building on the playful set of rules that Shroomtoshi is building out as we traverse this Shroom story arc, 6th rule jokingly kind of underscores how vital it is to never fully trust centralized exchanges. And, no matter how reliable or reputable they seem, Brian Armstrong, face value, seems like a cool dude, seems nice. Company has been around forever. And I tip my hat to them for building awareness of the space. We wouldn't have gotten as far as we would have. We need businesses and we need centralized exchanges in some regards to help facilitate the on-ramp and off-ramp.
We need them because we've been told that we need them, because the government also wants to have, they want to make, have as few on and off ramps as possible. Now, hopefully that's going to change now with,
it's a great point,
with Trump's in office, but there were options before Coinbase to buy it. And when they came in, they definitely helped adoption because they made it easier to get, but
it's a great point. And I think I will agree with you wholeheartedly, because as we'll see in the next couple of Shrooms, there totally were other ways to get onboarded. And we don't quote unquote need them in that sense, but they've certainly, I guess, helped catapult our recognition or path to mainstream. But like you said, that comes with a set of pros and cons. And um, the description, again, it adds a humorous and provocative tone. I think it implies that even if someone never had a Coinbase account, metaphorically speaking, you should still just reject the idea of even associating with centralized exchanges, and we'll kind of highlight why. So that's I agree with you, man. We don't need centralized exchanges, but for better or worse.
Yeah, and this is pretty topical too, because I'm showing a chart here. So I got a lot of issues with Coinbase. So when Shroomtoshi had this one, I was super happy about it. I've been supporting them since way before they went public. I thought they went public way before 21, but I guess they waited that long. But they've been around since 16, maybe 17. I can't remember when it was.
Might have even been 15. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was. But right when they opened, I started using them, and obviously it made it easier to get Bitcoin, like, and not have to go like peer to peer, like meet somebody in a Starbucks to try and get some. But I don't know if you guys know this, Ski God might, being a trader, but they did some sort of a like Google like Dutchy auction thing, and they didn't go the normal route of just kind of releasing the stock and the price before launch. This is before crypto kind of took over, and we front run Wall Street, we front ran we front ran, I knew something sounded odd in my comment, we front ran Silicon Valley. But back in the day, like you couldn't front run IPOs unless you like had insider contacts. In this case, they basically kept raising the price, and they did some sort of like Dutch auction or something where
it's like
the employees, it was structured differently, where the employees literally, a lot of them dumped like 30 or 40% right when it launched. So they got the price as high as possible. Wow. Well, I got in on day one to support them. So I got in on day one of Facebook, and I'm not a fan of Meta at all, but I'm up, 7,000% from day one of Meta. And guess what I am for? Oh, hold on. This is breaking news, everybody. I don't know if you noticed, the chart just turned from red to green, but on day one, it debuted at 297.64. It actually went a little higher to 315. And then look at just years and years of 60, 50. And granted, crypto was being dragged down. But my point is, they suck. They extracted value from the crypto community who believed in them. And on this show live right now is when they finally just surpassed the price. So guys, I invested 5 years ago, and I am officially, as of 30 seconds ago, up 30 cents on my initial Coinbase investment. So Brian,
Coinbase community member,
F you, buddy.
You should have just bought Bitcoin instead.
Well, I did.
Well,
are you sure? I thought it opened at like 400.
It was high. This is saying max all time. I feel like it wasn't 4. I thought it was in the 3s. So hold on, let me see.
We're not at all time highs. Like we're not.
No, all time high is 315 here in September of 21. But we're above what this is saying, the opening. Let me just hold on. Let's go back to this. You guys chat, and I'm gonna find it because this one heats me up.
I have thoughts too. While you dig that up, there are other personal reasons. My story is a little different. I never really got the stock, but I will say, on a personal level, Coinbase has always kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and that I think that just boils down to me being literally blacklisted for life from their services with zero explanation as to why. I have my suspicions, but as I think it's a cool segue, because we're gonna go into some privacy technology in a little bit. We're gonna start to get into peer-to-peer. Bitcoin exchanges and how you might be able to acquire Bitcoin without centralized exchanges. But for whatever reason, I had used some mixing technology and I was experimenting back in the day. I think that's what it was. But one day they just yanked my account. I had been using them since early days as well. It was like early 16 I've been buying for years, and loyal customer, no hiccups, anything, and they just yanked it one day without any reason. And they said, unfortunately, we have our own internal review process, and we can't really elaborate on why we're discontinuing your services. But you have 30 days to withdraw all of your assets, and thank you for your service. And that was it. And it just left a really, really bitter taste in my mouth. I always thought, I was like, wow, it's a great app, great service, but fuck them, man. Like, you're gonna just shut down on your customers because the the virtues that you kind of preach. Sometimes Brian Armstrong talks about being a heavy proponent of Bitcoin ideals and fundamentals, but we talk about privacy, we talk about sovereignty, and that's what Bitcoin is kind of about. So your company will basically blacklist a user for having used Bitcoin the way that they see fit. Or I don't even know, my Bitcoin could have, maybe it was owned by an Iranian somewhere else, or some suspicious address that I had no fucking idea about, and they then decided, well, we can't give services to him. That's not really of the ethos of how crypto was intended, or how Bitcoin is supposed to really work at a granular level. And I always felt philosophically and fundamentally that was a pretty fucked up thing, and I just wish they wouldn't do that to users. And I see more and more of it today. I've seen a lot of people post about them getting kind of debanked, not just by their bank provider, but by Coinbase, and with zero explanation. And it's not a great thing. So pros and cons, but we'll get into the next room and elaborate on that. So what do you guys?
And the just so people know, this weekend I had a little Solana on Coinbase, and I tried to get it off to buy Trump Melania, just have fun this weekend.
Yeah.
And their Solana, they
welcome to the trenches.
Oh yeah, they did not. The transaction failed all weekend, and they fixed it yesterday. So the funny thing is, I used to do a show called Decentralands with Disco. He, like, every time something big happens in crypto where people want to move their money and can make a quick little flip buck, Coinbase is always down. It like goes without fail. When you don't need anything from Coinbase, it works fine. Once you need it, it totally doesn't work.
Funny how that works. Yeah.
We moving on?
Yeah.
I'll say one last thing.
Go ahead.
I just wish that the X, like, aesthetically, I just wish that the X didn't go outside of the shroom. Like, I just wish it was over the sea. I think if that was the case, I actually would really like it, because I think it's just like a funny, like, I would like, because I kind of always am like, yo, just go buy iBit, or just like go on Coinbase. Like, don't worry about self-custody. Don't do any of that. So I would love to rock that shroom around the Bitcoin ecosystem, just as like a little troll to all of you like self-custody, like, purists, That's what I would like. But the fact that it just goes outside, like, bothers me just a little bit. But otherwise, I really like it.
Yeah.
It's fair. It's semi-clean. But yeah, with that said, thanks for directing us to the next one, Blue. 696 is our next guy. I'll open it up if Kenny or Ski, if either of you guys want to take it. We could pass it around.
Oh, go ahead.
I talked for a while. Okay. Well, 696 is called BISQ. It's BISQ, and I am just gonna say, aesthetic appraisal, emphasis on appraisal. I always love a clean shroom design, as I've stated before. The colors are seriously on point on this one. I love green and white. I love black. The symbol atop the shroom cap is none other than the BISQ Exchange logo. I'm a huge fan of this shroom. I think straightforward design, very clean. Love the symbol. Love the colorway. What do you guys think? Thumbs up or down on this guy? Let us know. You guys fans?
I agree.
I like this one a lot.
Yeah, go ahead. Steve.
Yeah,
I do too.
No, go ahead. I just want to say I like that one a lot.
Yeah, aesthetically, it's super clean. Yeah, like you said, the green and white. I think the two colors are really good. We haven't really got, like, I feel like when you look at Bitcoin shrooms, there's an aesthetic like with a lot of the European country hats. Ski God, I know you live in a shitty neighborhood, but mute your mic, dude.
That's not me.
I know it's Rolo. I'm just messing with you guys. Yeah. But this one, I think this might be the first one we're seeing where it has that perfect kind of, not that it's a nod to Super Mario Brothers, but it's, a bit of a nod to Super Mario Brothers where it's got that perfect mushroom cap. This one with a green, kind of like, it throws it off a little because there's almost like a circle within that, but it's one of the first ones we see to the true shape and size where he kind of cloned a bunch of them to get the dimensions to the mushroom cap to the face.
Yes. Yeah. Love those clean ones. And like you said, we haven't seen too many renditions of that yet, but we certainly will as we get much further into the collection. There's a lot of cool clean ones. But yeah, let us know, show us in the comment. I think we got a couple inputs here. Like the company or dislike the company, like the aesthetic. Fair.
Those are old.
Oh, okay. Whoops. Well, then let us know. But so going into lore time, I get super excited about this shroom for several reasons, but mainly one of them is nostalgia. I fondly remember discovering the Bisq Exchange back in the early days, and at that time, the Bisq Exchange was notorious for facilitating, I guess, what was called truly private peer-to-peer crypto, and it offered trading against something that we know as a privacy token known as Monero. And Monero was fairly unique as a technology called ring signatures. Basically enabled users to fully obfuscate all of the involved party members, on a transaction, so that you really could kind of, obfuscate without using mixers, just by using that token and sending it back and forth. And it was so successful, in fact, that that most centralized exchanges to this day have even banned Monero and other privacy tokens like Zcash due to the growing regulatory pressure, I guess, in the U.S. and other places. So they understandably were nervous by how powerful this technology is, and we're going to get into the topical nature of privacy in a little bit too with our final shroom. This is number 7 of 8. So you will eventually see, when we get into that discussion on CoinJoin, but the Bisq Exchange, it was also unique for offering basically true peer-to-peer, person-to-person exchanges that would actually employ a matchmaking service rather than a traditional order book, which is the way a lot of exchanges work. And that basically allowed you to keep your transactions private and individualized. And so I never actually knew what ended up happening to Bisq, and I'm pretty glad to see that the website and the exchange are still up and running today. I don't know what their current status is, but I do see that on the front page of the website they offer peer-to-peer exchanges between with Bitcoin, fiat, and quote unquote other cryptocurrencies. I don't know which ones those are, but I do believe I'd heard that Monero was taken off the platform, which was it's kind of a blow. And I do question how truly private, therefore, the exchanges are if they're not using CoinJoin. But, if I did do a little digging further on Bisq's website FAQ page and found some interesting info, which is, the following. The FAQ section says, "How does Bisq protect my privacy?" And to quote, it says, "Bisq is a standalone open source software that you can inspect before running on your machine. And as a result, you don't have to trust that any server is logging your personal details as you would in the case of a website. So as for the trading process, your payment information is stored locally on your machine, and only your trading partner or the mediator or arbitrator helping you can ever see it all. All data exchanged between users is encrypted and signed. To transmit data from one user to another, Bisq uses peer-to-peer network built on top of Tor, which provides a high degree of anonymity. The user does not need to do any additional work for all of this to work. It is all integrated in the application." So that answered some of my questions there. You don't necessarily need Monero, but as I learned with our we actually have 2 final shrooms. As I learned on our 8th shroom, privacy is a spectrum, and there are certain elements of privacy that you can enhance, augment, or weaken depending on certain things that you do. So there isn't really a singular answer to privacy, and we'll kind of get into that. But I thought this was cool that they still offer a privacy oriented service. So that's it for this shroom. What do you guys think about that?
What do you think, Kenny? Anything on Bisq before we move on to ET?
We could just cut straight.
Unfortunately, unfortunately, I don't have any experiences yet with Bisq. It's always something I wanted to check out, but haven't done so yet. But it's definitely a great alternative to all the centralized exchanges, for sure.
We could throw it over to our audience. Anybody in there, I meant to ask if anybody out there in the audience has used Bisq before. Do we have any OGs out there from the 16, 17, 18 days who have ever used Monero or Bisq's services? We'd love to hear, what was your experience like? And, did you like it? Did it work? Let us know. I would like to hear some personal accounts, but I've never used it myself. But,
I've never used Bisq, but I've definitely used Monero, and I think hopefully maybe privacy will become, with ring signatures, will become more accepted, and privacy will be respected again. That would be nice.
Super topical, and I'm actually super excited we're doing this episode today, because it was none other than like 2 days ago when we had legislation literally reverse course on privacy technology. So we're going to get into that with our final shroom. So love that you said that. But number 703, I think we can just roll right into it. Kenny, if you want to take this one.
Yeah, I'd love to do this one. So I think it needs to be said, in the Bitcoin shrooms, there are things that are UFOs. UFOs are basically unidentified fungal objects. So Bitcoin Shroom Toshi left a lot of Bitcoin shrooms untitled. He wanted the people that go through the Bitcoin shrooms to kind of do a bit of research themselves, and also he wanted to leave a lot of room for interpretation. So I think it makes sense that we note which ones these are before we go to them. And this Bitcoin shroom is one of these. You can see a Bitcoin shroom with the outside of
UFO.
Exactly, a Wally Bitcoin shroom. I'm sure many people have seen the Disney film. Maybe not the older folks, but us younger guys, we know what this is. And I mean, it kind of makes sense, and I guess we can highlight our interpretation of what we think Shroom Toshi intended with this Bitcoin shroom. So this one doesn't have any definition or name or anything, but we believe that this one points to RoboSats. RoboSats is basically something that you can run with a Bitcoin node, on which you can buy small amounts of Satoshis without having to go through a centralized exchange. Yeah. As you can see, the website is pulled up. I'm sure, Rollo, you've got a bit more details on how exactly it works and what the ins and outs are. So I think this one is a really cool one. I think it's obviously it's not really similar to all the other shrooms, but I still do really like this one.
Yeah. All right. I'll chime in there. I think this is a gorgeous shroom. I personally, aesthetically, I love this one. I want to say it's one of my favorites. I've mentioned this little working list of like top 30 favorite shrooms, and technically it's not in there. I would say if not, it's 31. It easily could have been number 1 through 5, just because it's that hard. Comparing the shrooms, and there's so many fucking good ones. I love this one for even historical, nostalgic reasons. When Shrimtoshi first commenced discussions on OTC deals, he told me to kind of like make a catalog and devise a list of my top 10 to 20, I guess, that I was interested in, because some were kind of sold or accounted for. And I circled each image of the ones that I wanted, and this one was literally the first one that I circled. It was the first shroom that kind of caught my eyes. And unfortunately, when I reviewed the shopping list, he told me that it had already sold, and to my great dismay, because I really wanted this one. It's a beauty, and I think it's an understatement how unique of a design it is. I like the playful nod to Disney's well-known protagonist hero, as you said, Kenny. Wally the robot is likely what that reference is, and I think it's a beautiful design. The way it seamlessly melds the signature googly Wally eyes with the shroom face kind of like stuck, right front and center in the middle there. It's a cool way to blend it in, and with Wally being such a lovable and relatable character, I think it's also probably no wonder that many revere this piece, and it was so sought after. That thing disappeared right away, and it's a wacky and cool design for a shroom. So I really like that he kind of made these kind of like cheeky pop cultural references. I think that's very cool, and I would say then kind of segueing into what you said about unidentified fungal objects. I'm also super excited to jump into our first UFO because it as a concept, I think it's just super cool having items that have been kind of revoked and have a little bit more mystery and intrigue behind them. And the whole concept of redacted shrooms, there were perhaps reasons, as you pointed out, Kenny, why he might have obscured these and pulled the title and the description from them and left us with almost nothing but to just the imagination. He still chose to make the shrooms, and he still chose to sell them and let art collectors kind of figure out the meaning for ourselves. And I think that adds some cool factor and a fun dynamic to the collection. And as we kind of stated at the beginning, the entire collection is purpose driven. These pieces all have symbolism and design behind them, so no design is an accident. And I think it's the coolest fucking thing about the collection. But UFOs, as you mentioned, Kenny, some of these might be dedicated to people who may simply not have wanted to be brought into public light. But another possibility is that there are potential copyright considerations, and I'm going to kind of dig into that here. One could maybe speculate that Shrimtoshi carefully and purposefully kind of balanced the act of paying artistic respect to some of pop culture's greatest figures and artworks, Disney pieces included, and without basically robbing artistic creativity from the shoulders of whatever giants he might have wanted to build upon. So I think it's a neat kind of way of like towing the line and basically being a nod to really cool elements of pop culture and history in our society. But that said, when it comes to lore, what the hell could this stream have represented? You tied it in beautifully for us. I had no idea also, and I asked you and Dakian what this was all about, and thanks for helping to point me in the right direction. It was RoboSats. Apparently, I never knew it existed, but it's like you said, it's an exchange and a peer-to-peer marketplace that basically allows users to buy and sell Bitcoin privately as well. But this time using the Lightning Network, which is interesting because this technically, I guess, is our first shroom. Well, actually, no. Your Raspberry Pi sort of graced upon that, but it's one of the earlier shrooms that references Lightning Network, and we'll see that theme kind of come back again. But looking at the website, it's kind of cool. It's noticeable that the Human Rights Foundation is listed as a key sponsor, if that tells you anything. So this service was basically oriented about on giving users control and privacy of the way that they deal with Bitcoin as well, kind of like Bisq. So clearly it was important enough to Shrimtoshi. We don't know the exact reason or tie-in for why it was that significant, but I think that's kind of what we're getting at here. And for all you users who maybe don't know what the Lightning Network is, it's a second layer solution for Bitcoin. It enables instant low fee transactions, and Shrimtoshi's repeated reference, again, as I said, was likely intended to scale Bitcoin's evolution from kind of like a slow on-chain payment system to something faster and a more scalable one. So even if layer 2 technology to this very day is still kind of controversial and not completely solved, Shrimtoshi clearly still acknowledged the importance of second layer technology because he made several shrooms about it. So yeah, again, I'll turn it over to the audience. Do you guys have any experience ever using RoboSats for privacy purposes or otherwise? I've never used it before. I never even knew about it. And again, feel free to drop comments in the chat section. We'd like to hear if you've had any experience with it. But that's all I got for this Shroom. Turn it back to you guys.
I like the movie WALL-E. It looks like WALL-E, so I like the Shroom.
Yeah,
that's
TLDR.
That's my analysis.
I wish somebody had because we don't know who has this, right? We're not sure.
No, I have no idea. I'd love to know.
So like,
No, I don't know.
This would be one I wish was like somebody that was out there kind of in the mix on X and stuff, because this would be such a dope little character to like build a brand around. And I don't know if you guys just mentioned it because that like at the start, but the little Sats sign on the body, right? Isn't that?
Is it there?
Isn't those three lines like the new? Isn't that the new? No, not a B. Isn't that the like sign for Sats or something like? Or am I off?
Oh yeah, the one. Yeah. Ski, man, you got a good eye. I didn't even see that. You're right. It's the kebab. It's the kebab spike for the Satoshi signs.
Oh,
because
shit.
if you look at Sats Wars with the boxing gloves, you can find another Bitcoin Shroom which has the Satoshi logo.
Holy shit!
Yeah, look at
once again, my mind is blown.
Yeah, so turn that sideways.
That's a little Easter egg for you. Great idea.
So it just
I have no idea.
Yeah, it confirms what your theory was about RoboSats, right?
Yeah,
but yeah, I wish that I wish that was out there on the streets. I hate that some of these are locked up in these fucking diamond hands and they don't like kind of show themselves. Like
we'd love to talk to you about your Shrooms.
Yeah, that one's cool and super unique and oddly symmetrical for how much is going on there. So
also great, yeah.
Very cool one. Very cool.
Accomplishes a lot. Yeah. But yeah, let us know what you guys think. For our final Shroom of the day, we've got number 707, CoinJoin. And thank you again for, if you're still here watching, you've stayed with us. Again, we've loved going through this ride. Our 8th and ultimate Shroom is a very important and topical one. So I think fabulous Shroom. Again, this is now maybe our second clean classic Shroom design, or maybe third if you count Coinbase. But really, really nice symmetric logo. I'm a sucker for simplicity, as I've said, and I love, ultra clean black and white colorway. It's right up my alley. I'm a huge fan of the clean black and green proto Shrooms, and this is kind of of that vibe and aesthetic. So I really jive with the Shroom, and I love the little tornado logo. But again, let us know. I would like to hear what you guys think, but it's a cool one because this.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Before you get into it, can I ask you a quick question?
By all means.
I mean, it's a little blurry on my end because I'm looking at this stream, but am I wrong in seeing that there's an extra set of pixels on the left side and it ends quicker on the right side? Do you know what I'm saying? If you look at the left side of the tornado. No, not the tornado. Look at the black part, right? So it goes out 2 pixels on the left, and it only goes out 1 pixel on the right. So what do you think that is?
You're shitting me. Yeah. And that's not the background from the set. That's actually.
I don't think so. He didn't just fuck that up. You know what I mean? He didn't. That's
he
on
was
purpose.
A very detail-oriented guy. Oh wow. Okay. Well, I don't know what that would have meant, but I wonder does it relate to the idea of a tornado or some sort of asymmetry?
Windy or something.
I would wager a guess that's not by accident, because it seemed like they spent a lot of time thinking about symbolism, as you just pointed out in the last one. So I have no idea, but what do you guys think?
Now I'd have to look at all the others to see Like, is the standard ones now they're symmetrical? I'm trying to find another.
No, the standard ones are definitely symmetrical.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think
I've never noticed that about this one.
Like, I think like Kenny, like Rolo said, like it's almost like you're in a tornado or something, and it's like maybe pushing
Like
you from one side or whatever.
Twisting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know.
I have a little update. I've got maybe have shed some light on it. I don't know if maybe this is what it is, but I have on my little my list here, I have another image copy of that shroom here, and I'm seeing maybe it's just not showing fully, but there's a shadow line that Shroomtoshi kind of like added on there on the right hand side, but not on the left. And so I think with this shroom, he's kind of, I guess he's putting like a lighting effect or angle, which I don't know if I've seen that on other ones, but there's a lighting effect on the right hand side of it, and I don't think maybe it's not showing up there well, but it's a nice little I guess layer to it. But
yeah, if you have a look at a couple of the other shrooms, I was like talking and I think my mic wasn't like connected. There's a couple of shrooms which have that like shadow on the side. If you have a look at my shroom, it has that. I think the bisque one we just went over, that has one of those like shadow edges on the side as well.
Oh, it's on the opposite side on bisque. Yeah. And on Coinbase, opposite side as well. That's cool.
But this one on
no, I think it's on the left,
is
right?
still symmetrical. The shadow's a different color, but it still goes out.
Yeah,
one pixel.
The shadow's different.
Yeah, this one is actually
it's even amount of pixels.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. On the one I'm seeing on CoinJoin, it's on the right hand side. I guess that's why I was kind of saying that. Like the other one seems like on the opposite side on the left. But I guess
I see
that. We'll keep tabs on that, and see if like is that a recurring theme? Does it flip flop? Is it random? No idea. But love that we're getting to the pixelated nitty gritty. So that's you gotta love that. But yeah, lore time. I think if you guys are ready to deep dive into this one, because I'd love to ask you guys a few questions about this one. Shroomtoshi's CoinJoin shroom, it left the following description for it and said, "The seventh rule, CoinJoin, ! Money should not have a memory." If Shroomtoshi inscribed CoinJoin technology into one of his Bitcoin rules, I think it must be pretty damn important, or at least to him. I think it's fairly clear that they were, trying to get at the message that Bitcoin is technically a very transparent and what's known as pseudonymous ledger. And basically, in other words, if you were extremely careful about your on and off ramps into and out of Bitcoin, technically speaking, people should not be able to connect your public address with your private identity. And I don't know if most people know that or are aware of that, but it's a pseudonymous sort of setup. And the moment that you give up a single data point, such as leaking your IP address, mentioning, your address in a social media post, transacting with other entities, even in a signature pattern, someone can indirectly abstract your data through software analysis and basically reverse, figure out who you are, and that has happened many times. So we have an entire industry on that, and many people probably are familiar with Zach XBT, who is sort of a blockchain sleuth, and I guess you could say Robin Hood white hat. There's an entire industry of Bitcoin surveillance that's known as chain analysis, and technically speaking, public block explorers, like they literally allow anyone to monitor, record, and analyze any transaction. So a notable and perhaps infamous example of that is literally the company monikered Chainalysis, which actually is another shroom we'll one day go into. It's a private company that's in the very business of using aggregated on-chain data to work backwards and identify wallet holders. So I'm kind of painting the picture of what the problem here is, I guess, and the background in order to kind of get into what CoinJoin is and why it's important. The irony, I don't think it's lost on us at all that many U.S. politicians vocally criticize Bitcoin on the basis of its untraceable nature. And many politicians say that it facilitates money laundering. It can't be tracked. If they really know it at a nuts and bolts level how it works, they might realize it may be one of the most advanced tools, for financial surveillance in existence if used a certain way, depending on what the regulations are, behind it. But now that I've kind of set the stage, where does CoinJoin kind of come into play here? CoinJoin is a way of basically substantially boosting user privacy, specifically by increasing the plausible deniability factor of an address's identity. And what that means is we'll kind of get into it. How does it work? There's a great simple explanation on coinjoins.org. So they have a great website which actually breaks everything down for you, and it's a really much more simple term, so you can kind of understand it at under the hood level. But it's a website built to promote awareness of and access to CoinJoin technology. So we have the website up there. But basically, yeah, in a CoinJoin transaction, many different users participate together at the same time in one single collaborative transaction. And that transaction basically contains many standardized outputs of the same value that everybody is kind of throwing in the same direction, same token amount. And that basically results in making it incredibly difficult to track each of the outputs on the other end back to each individual user who put the initial inputs in on that other end. So what it does is allow the group of CoinJoin users to essentially conceal the history of their coins from the public, quite literally. And that usually makes their UTXOs fungible, once again, on the Bitcoin network. And brief side note on fungibility, this does tie in. That just simply means that every token unit is exactly the same in properties and is interchangeable with one another. And that's why a non-fungible token, our ordinals or our shrooms, are unique one-of-one pieces, because they technically have something a little different tied into each Satoshi. So CoinJoin will literally, it will kind of make your Satoshis fungible again. And the technology itself, it doesn't come without legal and political baggage. As I've kind of alluded to in the other shrooms, this is a very topical one nowadays. Most of us have probably heard of the landmark Tornado Cash prosecutions, which saw the arrest of open source software developers and basically the legal sanctioning of an entire open source software technology. So we're going to get into that, yeah. But accordingly, many believe that sanctioning open source code or decentralized protocols without clear evidence of the operator's involvement, I think that sets a really dangerous precedent. But we're going to ask you guys. I'm not a lawyer, neither is ChatGPT, but I did a little AI assisted digging and basically found out that following key information, in today's current state of affairs, as of now, item 1, Bitcoin's CoinJoin technology is not technically illegal in the US. However, while it's not explicitly illegal, using it can raise some major compliance issues, and that mainly pertains to using it on centralized exchanges. Ask me how I know that. Coinbase. But yeah, item 2, on the other hand, Ethereum's Tornado Cash was, at least for a long time, sanctioned by the US government by a body known as OFAC, specifically as a result of an identified connection to having facilitated money laundering to the North Korean Lazarus group. So in other words, they made it illegal to use Tornado Cash and illegal to use an open source technology. And that kind of gets at the interesting and controversial point here, I think. Technology isn't banned on its technological basis in this case, or its open source nature. It's specifically banned because it is associated in facilitating illegal activities. So therefore, you kind of arrive at a silly question, like CoinJoin is not illegal just because law enforcement hasn't identified any link to illegal use cases, I guess, because it's no different for Tornado Cash. They're very similar in functionality. So we got one banned and one technically not banned, yet they both facilitate the same technological outcome. So maybe you can kind of see the peculiarity here. So that's where I'm going to turn it over to you guys. I've spoken a lot, so I'm going to shut up. I just want to ask, what do you guys think about that irony, and where do you stand on privacy technology? I'd love to hear from the three of you and from our audience. Like, what do you guys think about this one?
Yeah, I think this one's a really cool one. I like the aesthetics a lot. Very, very, very clean. I I do like a coin join, not gonna lie. I think it's great technology that something like this is possible. On the other hand side, I don't think it should be illegal, but the problem is that obviously you are potentially associating yourself with someone else who might be using cryptocurrencies in a illegal manner, and therefore you're also vulnerable because you're just connecting yourself with someone else who potentially is doing something harmful. So I think it should still be okay to do it in general, I think, just because, I mean, essentially you're just creating a Bitcoin transaction with a load of other people. That's kind of what you're doing. That's just like the plain characteristics of this technology. So I don't think it's probably even possible to shut that down entirely from like a technical standpoint. But yeah, it's obviously super difficult. I've done like a couple just while I was testing my node, and because I knew that was a shroom, I did a couple back in the day with like small amounts of sats and small amounts of people. But
it's pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, still cool that is possible, and I do like the opportunity. But obviously, for everybody else, you have to be super careful with these things, and obviously know the risks of what this could facilitate.
Totally. I want to.
It'll be interesting to see what the new administration does. I suspect.
Yes.
It seems like privacy has not been top of mind, even for the. I mean, we were the biggest crypto lobby was the biggest lobby above pharma and oil in this last election. So, there's a lot of clout. We're hoping for that Bitcoin reserve, but I don't think privacy I don't think it's top of mind for people. And it's too bad. And maybe
taboo stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's the trade-off that has to be made. But I think it's just like freedom to transact. I think freedom to share and not share personal information is a right as well, and it's certainly in our Constitution, right? So the right to assemble privately. So Kenny makes great points. Obviously you don't, the thing that sucks is with, the US dollar has much higher levels of illicit use, and if you take all the banks and the billions they've been charged for, basically, if they can get away with a trade that makes $60 billion and they get fined $10 billion, it's just part of the cost of doing business, right? So
you have to ask the question.
Right, the US dollar, obviously it's got serial numbers, but once it's digital, it really doesn't. Whereas Bitcoin, Casey taught us that you can number sats, and it makes it where it's far more traceable. But I think, in the spirit of Monero, Zcash, and, coin joins, that it should absolutely be allowed. And I hope that it stays important to future generations.
Yeah. I want to let Ski God cut in and comment. I just wanted to pose a question, therefore, just based on what you said, which is, both you and Kenny had great points, which is just, even if, let's say, regardless of whether people decide one way or the other that people can or can't use it, would you maybe agree that people will still always just find a way to kind of side skirt it? Because I think, does North Korea's Lazarus care if OFAC sanctions it? It's open source software. They're going to find a way. They're going to find a way. There's always, if there's a hole or a gap, someone's going to fill it. And so I think that technology, it's just always going to be there. The question is just, do we let people use it or not? And for better or worse, and like you said, dollars. There's a big hypocrisy there, I think, in my opinion, because many dollars are physical, in some many regards untraceable, and there's a lot of historical precedents. We've all probably seen that chart with that shows the amount of, I think, billions or trillions of dollars that have been laundered in U.S. dollar volume versus I guess what's known to date about crypto. But you know, it's interesting, but as you said, you know, what has just recently transpired in politics, the Tornado Cash ban was just lifted. The state of Texas knocked it off. It is apparently no longer illegal to use Tornado Cash, which pretty crazy. That was a fast fast
in
thing.
Texas, it's not, or the federal overturn changed that, or it's debatable.
It might be debatable. I'm not a legal expert, but basically, if the OFAC stands for, I think it was the Office of Foreign, it's something. I'm pretty sure it's Office of Foreign Assets Control. I believe that's a federal institution and body, and if that can no longer apply, but you know, my assumption here would be that's across the board, but maybe it's a state by state basis. I don't know. It's a great question. Ski, what do you think?
Yeah, once I heard privacy, I just checked out. You know, I don't care. Like, I just fucking buy your Bitcoin and let's run this bitch up. You know what I'm saying? Also, I went into Magic Eden. I went into Magic Eden and looked at the picture of this. This is on this website. The gray pixels match the background. So if you go do it by inscription, or low. It's easy to find if you just like, there you go. And now open that up and you can actually see the pixels on the right that you can out.
So it's
that's probably what Kenny was.
The background is
that's probably what Kenny was referring to by the like shadow
edging. So it is a proportionate shroom. It is a left. Yeah. It is a right shadow. Sun from the left. Okay, that's interesting. So
the OCD in all of us. Out there, you know. So
it's the details, man. The little details guy.
That is interesting.
But
so
yeah, but this, you know, I just wanted to just say, you know, to our audience, if you guys have thoughts on this, it's a fairly interesting and controversial topic to this day. You know, privacy oriented technology, is that a right or you know, is it a privilege? Where do we stand on this? It's you've got a totally new political regime, for better or worse now. Gary Gensler leaving office, crypto proponents stepping in. If all this changes, you know, where do you stand? Let us know. But
freedom of speech, right to petition government. Which one's the freedom of privacy? That one we'd have to dig a little deeper to find that, but. Yeah, I think it's definitely a right, and I think it should be important for future generations, because if surveillance, if it's not enforced right now, we just don't want to turn into what China is, where if you cross the street and jaywalk in the middle, every camera is picking up every angle of your face, so they can send you a ticket, and now you can't take the train 4 cities over to visit your parents for Christmas because you jaywalked. Like, no, thank you.
Right. No, I agree.
Freedom,
I agree, man. And
America.
Yeah, and not everything is black and white. I guess there are nuances. Like, on one hand, while I seem resolutely in favor of, you know, privacy, I do recognize there are probably some exceptional cases, or, you know, like everything should be evaluated on its own merit. But one other question I was going to just ask you, Blue, or Kenny, or Ski, is, you know, the whole thing I argued up front was that Bitcoin as a pseudonymous thing, there's an entire blockchain industry based on digging in the data and reverse engineering identity with things like chain analysis. My other argument is that, you know, even if we do use CoinJoin or whatever else, AI and all these other technologies, they're gonna figure out a way around it and how to trace back to you, because privacy, as I alluded to earlier, it's a spectrum. There are certain things you can do that kind of change privacy, but it's a spectrum. And I think,
remember, you could add ring signatures too, which are completely obfuscated. Yeah. So the CoinJoin is just the best what's for Bitcoin, because it is this public ledger that doesn't have ring signatures baked into it
for
yet.
Sure.
So there are other ways you could absolutely do it. But yeah, I mean, AI is going to get smarter and smarter, and the analysis is going to get smarter and smarter. So you hopefully stay a step ahead and protect the privacies that are our rights.
Fair.
So let's
go ahead, Kenny. Yeah, just like finishing thought, I think Bitcoin gives you all the tools to stay completely anonymous. I mean, the best
Mhm.
example is Satoshi himself, right? I mean, Satoshi's never
That's
been
actually a great
found,
point.
and I doubt that
It's
he
a great
will
point.
ever found. So as long as you buy
Yeah.
your sets anonymously, and you can
Yeah.
kind of erase the trails with some things like coin joins, and you don't obviously use a centralized exchange and all these other things, I think there's a
Yep.
good chance of people not being able to find who you are. Also, another big thing is, which we don't have a shroom of
Satoshi.
actually,
Mm.
is address reuse. Obviously, big proponent for
Yes.
like Sparrow. Address reuse is obviously a big topic
Yeah.
in the Bitcoin community.
Totally.
Trezor's really good at that too. They will always receive to a different address. It may even can it send from a different address? No, I don't think you can do that, but it will always receive. So it will automatically do that stuff for you. And Wasabi, kind of a version of CoinJoins, is in, I believe, or maybe CoinJoins itself is in the Trezor wallet. So I know a lot of people in crypto have been into Ledger because that's especially on ETH and maybe Sol NFTs, but Ledger I think is far in superior to like a
Isn't
cold
the
wallet.
ledger owner like kidnapped right now? So this isn't helping,
Dude.
you know.
Yeah. Speaking of topical,
Privacy, huh? You want
He's
privacy?
crazy
Nah,
shit
bro, you're
happening.
gonna get kidnapped.
he was just released this
Um,
morning, and I think there was a ransom. So I don't even know if we know the
that's
full story,
crazy.
but he was released, and
This is
Wow.
why this shit doesn't matter, dude. If somebody wants you, they're gonna get you.
yeah, but they know that's the point. They know
Ever
who
the
he is,
cynic.
and he's obviously super high profile. But
He's public facing.
like
Yeah.
Kenny said, if you were super stealth about it, if it was more peer to peer in
Yeah.
the early days, and you haven't moved it, like you are probably in pretty good shape. Like as long as your tracks were fairly clean early, it's probably going to be tough to track you down. But I mean, it does tell us. I mean, we're obviously nowhere on the radar of the Ledger guys, but like you got to be careful, you know. And I suspect if
Very.
what happens
Yeah.
with Bitcoin does happen, like you might have to protect yourself a little more. And Kenny maybe not showing his face and us showing our faces is probably a lot smarter.
We're fucked.
We'll find
But
him.
I
You can try.
echo that. Yeah. I echo that, Blue, and I think, Kenny, you make a fantastic point, because what's our greatest historical precedent for answering that question? Just like you said, Satoshi Nakamoto. Nobody knows who the dude is, and he followed all the right hygienic practices, and I think that speaks to the technicality of how, like you said, all the tools are there if you practice the right way, peer-to-peer, all the fundamental rules Shroom Toshi laid out there. Technically speaking, you will remain pseudonymous. They will not figure it out. At least they haven't to date.
Absolutely. All right. Well, great show, everybody. We've got a big ass mug. I think let's not make people posting it. We had plenty of commenters in here, so you will be reached out by Rolo. Who's gonna win? You know what I'm gonna do, Rolo? I'm gonna.
Who wants the proto shroom?
Yeah, it's a proto shroom mug.
The proto mug.
Thing.
Sorry.
And Rolo has. Have you drinking coffee out of this yet, Rolo? This has touched the lips of the infamous Rolo, who could be Shroom Toshi.
If you want that one, by all means, I'll send it to you. It's probably less valuable. Maybe even a little, avoidable.
Yeah, I hope you haven't put your shroom in this shroom mug.
I only make shroom tea, in that guy at least. But yeah, let me know. I will send you a brand new wrapped, packaged proto mug at no extra cost.
Perfect. So give me a number, Rolo, just so people know it's legit, and then I'm gonna figure out the order, and then we'll pick who the person is after the show. Just give me a number right now between between 1, 2, 3, 4, like 1 and 10.
Okay, let's let's go lucky number 7.
Okay, 7, and the winner is Lalo, let's go, Lalo. So you win the mug. Congratulations.
Nice.
No way, Lalo.
Send it all the way to Brazil.
Oh my god.
Rolo's like, my guys, can I've spent like $10,000 on what? Merchandise? No, on the shipping. So congratulations, Lalo. This is a great show, guys. I learned so much, and just learned about privacy. Oh man, we're at 490. It's like I know the orange pill's coming up. You'd love to get to 500, but I think I'm happy with this show, and everybody post it, forward it. Our last show, or maybe it was the first one, had, I think, what do we have, 600 live, and it got up to like 1,800. So the cool thing is, people are watching this and they're watching it after. So it's touching a nerve, and the history of Shrooms is the history of Bitcoin. Does anyone want to have any final last comments before we move on and Blue eats lunch?
No real comments. I mean, as always, if you guys haven't known or didn't know yet, the Shrooms are coming, guys. You better fucking hide. The Shrooms are coming.
Absolutely.
If you want to own, one of the most grail, if you wish you could have bought an alien, an ape, or a zombie punk, and you look back and you're like, man, I had the chance, bro. I could be the one that sold that 16 million to whatever. Well, the Shrooms are sitting at 1.15. And I guarantee you, when it moves, they will be gone. They will be gone. The floor price is going to go up to some stupid ass amount. Everybody's going to talk about it in crypto. People are going to be like, oh, I saw those things for so long, and I blah, 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 blah. This is on you, bro. Take responsibility for not investing in the most historic piece of art that will ever be on chain. It's your fault. It is your fault. Just remember that. That's what I have to say.
I love the energy. Yeah, I mean, if there is one Bitcoin like PFP collection to the like, if we had to predict in 10 years, and there's probably some art there too, but which collection would you have to guess that it sold as much as whatever the top alien was? I mean, it would have to be this collection. I'm trying to think of what one would even come close. I don't think Ordinal Punks would be that high. I don't think Bitcoin Rocks would come even close. Bitcoin Shrooms. So check them out, guys. And History of Bitcoin, great show for Kenny, for super Rolo, fun. And for Ski God. We're going to sign off, and we're going to do this every Thursday at noon Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific. And we're going to start promoting a little better so people know ahead of time. So we're at 495, but I don't know, guys. The bellows has run thin. Anything, Rolo, you want to take us out?
Hey, just thank you guys for showing up. We love seeing the audience participating out there. Love seeing Shroom holders, coming out, turning out, and this has been super fun, guys. I love that we're doing this, and can't wait for next week. So we'll see you soon, and stay safe out there.
Nice. Rolo's long-windedness, 500, baby. All right, everybody. Tell your friends. Watch the show. Watch it and rerun, and we're out of here. Take care, everybody.
See you guys.